Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to episode 241 of Empty Betters. I'm your host for today, Nick Manila. I got Mac with me. What's going on, buddy? You're kitted out. Big win yesterday for the Vens. How we feeling?
Yes, sir. Huge Ravens W. So I'm representing, even though this is a hockey show. We love our football, we love our baseball, we love all good sports here. So uh it's only just beginning for the Ravens. We've got a long battle ahead of us, and we'll see what else we can do. But for now we'll enjoy that victory.
Well said. Speaking of other sports we love that are just beginning, college basketball is about to kick into full swing here. We've now crossed into 2025. I feel like around the time that like the NFL starts doing the Saturday, Sunday football games is when I really start to dial into college foot or college basketball. But, you know, you and I obviously fans of two pretty good college basketball programs. What do we think about the Golden Eagles' chances this year?
I feel pretty good. I mean, like any good NCAA season or any good Marquette season, there's been a couple of stinker losses that you want to forget, but some impressive wins. Really impressive overall the way they've kind of continued to move forward and take steps forward after losing guys like Tyler Kolek last year, guys like Oso Ighodaro who are no longer there. So Cam Jones, huge shout out to him. He's kind of been the face of the program, and I've been saying even since last year when those two guys were still here that I think Cam Jones is the best player on the team. So um, I like how they've been playing this year. I'm very excited to watch them in March.
Yeah, that should be a good one. I know, I've talked about this before on the show. I love it how Sparty starts off their basketball schedule every year. They usually have three of their most difficult games as their first three games. I mean, it's very rare you see them start a season and it not be playing Kansas or Duke or, way back when you could throw Kentucky in there as one of their first three. And it sets them up so well going into March. I mean, obviously, you mentioned some of those stinker losses that's going to happen, especially in, Marquette's conference, especially in the Big Ten. So, yeah, hopefully that kind of stuff, tails off as we get closer to March. But hockey show, going to talk about some hockey. But before we do, I know you were recently at the Frozen Confines. Why don't you share your experiences there? Because that looked like it was cold, dude. I'm not gonna lie, but it
Oh
looked like
my
you guys had
God.
a ton of fun.
We did. It was a ton of fun. It was very cold. Probably the coldest sporting event I've ever attended, I would say. And I've attended lots of NFL games, a number of Winter Classics, Stadium Series games, stuff like that. So, yeah, it was certainly it was cold. It was cold as shit.
What was the
Uh,
like worst part about the cold? Was it like trying to like get it out to pee? Was it, trying to like get your
no,
wallet out to pay for stuff, holding
no,
the beer?
it was definitely my feet.
Okay.
And that I have boots. I have Timberland boots that I've had since I was in high school, and like all of the insulation is basically just like non-existent anymore. I had like two layers of socks, but that was not cutting it. What did change everything was after the women's game ended and we were waiting for the men's game to start. I actually put two like hand warmers in my socks on top of
Smart.
my like toes, and that changed everything. And then yeah, you got to like keep walking around too to keep the circulation going. So we eventually got it where it needed to be, but I also just by the end of the whole night, I just felt like I had like a headache just from being like so cold. And like, when you're like shivering and like your back starts kind of hurting too, like I had some of that going on. Like it was tough going out there, but I will say it was worth it. Two excellent hockey games. Um, Ohio State versus Wisconsin for women's. I mean, that's basically best on best. They've played each other a number of times in the championship last couple of years. And that ended up going to the shootout. Buckeyes won. That was really awesome. I got a really cool video of that. And then the men's game, Michigan State versus Wisconsin, that was just unbelievable. That was about to go to the shootout, and Michigan State won it in overtime with like a second left on the clock. So heartbreaker for the Badgers, which I'm all about. Two excellent hockey games with some free hockey involved in both of them. And I got to say, Wrigley Field, they did a great job. Sight lines were good. We moved around a lot because it wasn't super, super crowded for the college games. It filled in a little bit by the end of the men's game. Um, but we were able to kind of move around enough, kind of select the sight line we wanted. We actually had tickets in the lower bowl. We moved upstairs because
Oh, wow.
as most people know who've been to these kinds of things, you kind of want that overhead look. So we moved upstairs and that's where we ended up staying. We had a really good view up there. So
Nice. Yeah, it looked like a blast. I mean, how long do you think you were there? Because, like you mentioned, both of those games went extras. The women's game was like what, an 8 round shootout, and the men's game almost went to a shootout.
yeah, so we made the mistake. What we probably should have done is stay at the bar until like the women's game was like halfway through or something like that,
Okay.
and then gone over because no disrespect to the women's game, that was a phenomenal game, but the best part of that game was like the third period and then overtime and shootout.
Right.
First and second period were kind of slow, not a whole lot of action going on. And if there would have been any hockey that we wouldn't have mind missing that day, it would have been that. And just staying in the bar, warming up a little longer, probably would have gone a long way. Um, all in all, we were probably there for God, I don't even know. I lost track of time. It's so hard to like. I barely was like getting my phone out.
I don't blame
Um,
you.
I think probably like 6+ hours though, or
Okay.
something like that. I don't know.
Full service day, huh?
Yeah, big time.
That's awesome. Well, let's go ahead and get into some of the hockey news. But before we do, I know Mac has a word for you guys from our friends over at DraftKings.
Playoffs. We're talking about playoffs? You bet we are. Get in on the action at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Scoring touchdowns is key to winning in the playoffs, and you can score big by betting on them at DraftKings, the number one place to bet touchdowns. Ready to place your first bet? Try betting on something simple like a player to score six. Go to the DraftKings Sportsbook app and make your pick. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code THPN. That's code THPN for new customers to bet $150 in bonus bets if your bet wins when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 and over, age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in New Hampshire, Oregon, and Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/ftball. NFL Plus Premium offer available only to new and former NFL Plus subscribers. Additional NFL Plus Premium terms at nfl.com/terms.
Well said. Big thanks to DraftKings for once again sponsoring the news segment of our show. First and foremost, before we get into the news, just want to wish a big congratulations on an amazing career and a happy retirement to former guest of the show, Jerry D'Amigo, sixth round pick of the Leafs back in 2009, USA World Juniors legend. So just fantastic career and, congrats, Jerry. Way to hang him up. That's a big one right there. So definitely
Absolutely.
a career you should be proud of.
Yeah, really great guest on our show. Always loved chatting with Jerry. So hats off and good luck with whatever's next, buddy.
Well said. Let's go ahead and talk about Sid and Ovi because that never happens on this show. So once again, these two that will always be mentioned in the same breath hit more milestones, seemingly like 48 hours apart from each other this past week. Let's go ahead and start with Sid. He had a goal and two assists during the Pens 5-3 win over the Oilers on Friday. That moves him past Joe Sakic for ninth all time in points. Fun fact, that is the first time the Penguins have beaten the Oilers since 2019, which is hilarious. And I'm sure Harry's just, loving every single second of that. But up next for Sid on that list is going to be Lemieux. He's 80 points ahead of Crosby. There's no doubt in my mind that Sid will get there. That'll be a big old Penguins group hug when that thing happens. That's going to be unbearable for you and I to be on social media for, but you do have to respect it. He's unbelievable.
No doubt. Yeah. I mean, we've said it on the show before, but at this point in our fandoms of the Caps and Penguins, talking about Harry there, uh, I think it's all love, it's all respect for the most part, unless we're literally playing against each other, which we will be on Saturday.
Correct.
Um, But yeah, for the most part, you see this stuff and you're just like, it just kind of reminds you of like you said, you mentioned one, you're thinking about the other. Anytime I see a Sid highlight like this, it kind of reminds me about how both him and Ovi are just still superstars in this league, and it's awesome to see.
It is fantastic. I mean, it's almost like the NHL should do something with that and
Yeah.
not just force games into crappy scenarios, which we'll get to in a second. But
Yes, sir.
let's go over to Ovi. So he becomes the second player in NHL history to score at least 20 goals in 20 straight seasons, joining Mr. Hockey himself, Gordie Howe. He got his 20th of the season against Nashville on Saturday. That is the 873rd of his career, which moves him to within 22 goals of breaking 99's record. Just a fun fact in case you don't know this. Ovi also holds the NHL record for 30 goal seasons with 18, 40 goal seasons with 13, and is tied with Gretzky and Mike Bossy for the most 50 goal seasons with 9.
Absolutely insane. We'll see if he'll be able to break that last one or not. That'd be interesting.
Yeah. I mean, it's
I
crazy that him and Howe are the only two guys to have done this over 20 straight years. But when you think about it, it's just insane that two people were able to do that all together. I mean, Howe doing it over the course of, just how long he played is unbelievable. Ovi doing it through, the NHL changing so much from 2005 to now,
yeah.
guys were still using two-piece sticks back then. Now these sticks, are whippy as hell and you can load them up from pretty much anywhere. But
Yep.
hats off to Ovi for just another tick on the box there.
I think I read something too that said that him and Gretz are both at this point in Ovi's career, they're both at 0.60 goals per game through their entire career, which is pretty impressive. And another kind of fun stat I saw was that the last time the Washington NFL team won a playoff game, Ovechkin had about 25 career NHL goals. So,
Correct. So he scored like 840 something
yeah,
between Commanders slash the other
yep,
name playoff wins.
exactly.
That is insane. Some other milestones to get to. The Carolina Hurricanes retired Eric Staal's number 12 in Raleigh on Sunday. My question to you, Mac, is he the first player you think of when I say Carolina Hurricanes or when you see their logo? I was having this discussion with a friend of mine.
That's a good question. I don't think he is for me. And
Okay.
that's not to take anything away from him. He definitely is one of the first three or five that I would probably think of. Um, I probably think of Brindamore first, honestly, just because obviously he's the coach now. But when he was captaining that team to a cup, that was kind of like the beginning of my like really devoted NHL following. Like that is really when I like actually started paying attention and was like conscious enough as a kid to like know what was going on. So I do think of him, but honestly, I think of Justin Williams too. Like
Oh, that's a good one.
I'd say, and that's just from being a Caps fan and guys that had long careers elsewhere and then had stints with your team. But yeah, I think I'd probably say Brindamore, Williams, and then Staal. Maybe even throw Cam Ward in there of guys that I think of when I think of the Carolina Hurricanes.
I think I mean, you nailed it right there. I would say Eric Stahl is that guy for me, and I think the video game cover probably helped that a little bit for Cello 8. But,
Sure.
if I'm thinking of, three guys when you say Hurricanes, it's Brenda Moore, Eric Stahl, and Cam Ward. No brainer
Yep.
for me. So, great to see him get recognized. Jordan is still playing there, which is awesome. Eric ranks second on the franchise's all-time list in goals, assists, and points. He trails Ron Francis in all of those categories. And let's be real, I don't know if anyone's going to catch him there for franchise records, but yeah, just awesome to see. We don't particularly love the Hurricanes on the show, but I think we can all agree that that's well deserved.
Indeed.
Something else that people might think is well deserved was Cutter Gauthier going into Philly on Saturday night.
Yeah.
Did you have a chance to watch this?
I saw some of the clips. I wasn't watching live, but I made sure to catch all the hullabaloo.
So, for those that don't know or forgot, it was pretty much almost a year ago to the day that Gauthier was traded after saying he would not sign with the Flyers to Anaheim for Jamie Drysdale. So of course he's just greeted with, open arms by the Philly fans who let him know how pleased they were with that decision. And to make matters worse, Drysdale scored in the game, snapping a 26 game goalless streak. So, you know, just adding insult to injury that they also lost the game 6-0. So, I mean, not exactly, I think, what he was hoping for when you go into that city, but I mean, you made your bed. Now you got to lie in it, right?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, fans in Philly are ruthless. We all know that, for better, for worse. And what they were chanting, "Fuck you, Cutter." Is that or yeah, I think so.
There was a bunch of them. They were chanting Jamie's better.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Uh
Yeah, that was wild to see. I thought he handled it well. That's gotta be,
yeah. I
a
think he
little
scored the
bit
next game,
rattling. He
but
did,
I
yeah.
don't think Flyers fans really care about that. So
No, I think he got the OT winner in the next game too. But yeah, that was wild. And I mean, if you haven't learned by now, just don't piss off Philly.
yeah.
Um, let's talk about something that I think the NHL did that pissed off everyone. The new schedule slash format slash location for the Winter Classic. So the Panthers and the Lightning are going to host outdoor games in 2026. The Panthers are going to host the Rangers for the Winter Classic on January 2nd, where the Marlins play. Initial just impressions from what I just told you.
I mean, we all kind of knew that this was going to happen based on some hints and some clues that have been dropped over the past couple months. I'm not pleased about it. I think we discussed it on a previous episode, but they've tried outdoor games in Los Angeles and other parts of California. Um, it hasn't gone great. The ice sucks. It's hard enough to make ice in Chicago or Michigan or Ohio or wherever. It's never going to be an ideal sheet of ice or ideal conditions at any of these outdoor games, but you're just making it that much shittier for the players. And I don't know, to me you're kind of doubling down on telling everyone that you don't actually give a shit about the actual game and it's all about the money and the location and what can get you most ticket sales and most whatever, and most wow shock factor at this point is kind of what they're going for, it seems. So that kind of pisses me off. I mean, there's just no way that they're going to be able to get real good ice out there. Um, I'm sure they'll do whatever they have to do with, underneath the ground refrigeration, even if the temperature outside isn't quite what it needs to be to create ice, whatever. I know that there's technology to make it happen, but again, I just don't think it's fair to players to do this kind of thing when the whole goal is, oh my God, wouldn't it be crazy if we had an outdoor game in Florida? Like it's literally just shock value that they're going for. And they're just, they know things are happening in Miami and they want, to get in on that. So
I understand their half-cocked attempt at, marketing where they're like, hey, Florida just won the Stanley Cup. There's a lot of buzz there. Let's see if we can
yeah.
sort of make this the new hotbed like what went on in California, which I genuinely think like, hey, grow the game. That's great.
Yeah,
If you're gonna make it a gimmick, make it a full-blown gimmick. And I want to see you playing roller hockey on like the streets of LA
right.
instead
Yeah,
of doing like an ice rink in Florida. And I'm not
yeah.
saying that that should happen or that should count for 2 points in the standings. Make it a preseason game. Who cares, you know?
Mm-hmm. Sure. Yeah.
Um, yeah, I don't know how this is going to go. I also think they kind of missed, the Panthers are going to play the Rangers and then a month later the Lightning are going to play the Bruins. I'm like, why would you not just do the Battle of Florida?
Yeah, that's really odd. Also, again, Winter Classic, January 2nd. What the fuck are we doing?
Right.
No one even has that day off. Like,
Right.
no, no, I'm gonna be at work, so it better not be a day game,
Yeah.
which it probably will be. But yeah,
At this point it would be better if they just played on Christmas.
yeah, I don't know what the fuck they're doing. It's annoying.
Also, I mean, I do think there's a reason here. You've got the Panthers playing the Rangers, so that's just going to be a 73% Rangers crowd. And then you've got the Lightning playing the Bruins in Tampa, so that's going to be a 73% Boston crowd
Yeah, it's
because of
gonna
all
be
the
all the
snowbirds.
snowbirds.
Yeah,
Yeah. Hmm.
exactly. So, obviously, I'm sure the NHL will make a big production with a great concert that won't suck, but we can only wait to find out, right?
Can't wait for them to get AJR for the fourth time.
Or like Imagine Dragons or something like
Yeah.
that.
Hmm.
Let's go ahead and dive into our Washington Capitals. It's been a little bit of up and down recently, so interested to hear your thoughts on this, but let's recap the recent games real quick. 2-1 OT win over the Vancouver Canucks. PLD basically had a standout game, scoring both goals. Awesome, sick ass move for the OT winner. That was great to
Yep.
see. Um, they followed that up with a 3-2 overtime loss to Montreal. We had Ethen Frank getting called up, making his NHL debut. Caulfield scores for the Habs again. I think that's like his ninth goal in 12 games played against the Caps, so keep that in mind for your betting purposes. Chikrin and Eller score for the Caps, and Frank picks up his first NHL point on the Eller goal. Great play, great hustle to beat out the icing there. Second period, I thought was the worst second period I've seen from the Capitals all year for a number of reasons. Unfortunately, the big takeaway there is LT has to come in on, in replace of Charlie, who gets, his head kind of knocked backwards and then into the post with a collision in the crease. I think it's always tough for a goalie to come in. LT gets lit up for two there. Thought he looked good after that, but that's tough. Lindgren is now on IR and is expected to miss at least a week. That's going to be a little bit of a challenge for the Caps going forward, but they bounce back the next day. Yet another back-to-back game for this team. They win 4-1 in Nashville. Wilson scores on the power play. Ethen Frank gets his first NHL goal. Mangiapane gets a nice, garbage crease monkey goal in the third, and then Ovi blocks a shot to get his empty net. So just, initial impressions from the recent games before we dive into the upcoming ones.
Yeah, a couple things to say. I think overall a lot of Caps fans been kind of, I don't want to say panicking, but they've been a little bit more pessimistic recently just about kind of how we've been playing and how we haven't been dominating as much, controlling the puck as much. And I think all that is valid, but I do think there's something to be said about still being on a point streak here and finding ways to win games that maybe you don't deserve to. I think that Vancouver one is a perfect example of it. A guy like PLD kind of just puts the team on his back and makes sure we get 2 points there. It's not pretty, but it's 2 points in the standings. And 3 weeks from now, when you're looking at our point totals, you're not going to remember how we got those 2 points. You're just going to remember that we got them. So it's stuff like that where this is the middle of the season. It's kind of the dog days of the season. This is where it's really easy to fall apart, go on a little bit of a cold streak. And I think it's really encouraging to see that even if we're not playing our best hockey, I'm pretty confident we'll be able to get back to it when the time matters and when the time comes. But to be able to still get points and get wins while you're not playing your best hockey is awesome. Ethen Frank, freaking awesome so far. That assist for his first point, really impressive play, as you said, to beat out that icing. The goal was pretty sweet as well. Just nice rush goal there against a really good goalie. Um, so yeah, that's encouraging to see. The Nashville game in general was pretty interesting to me. I mean, you're tied 1-1 in the third period and you find a way to win 4-1. That's always good. Um, Ovi with the block shot to get the empty netter is awesome. I think it was funny to I heard the Nashville announcers who I typically enjoy their commentary, but kind of a little bit of a boneheaded thing one of them said on that play was like Ovechkin's not a guy that you're going to put out there to protect a lead, but given his situation, they've been putting him out there to score empty netters or whatever. And it's like, tell me you only watch one Capitals game a year without
Yes.
telling me you watch one Capitals game a year because record or not, Ovi is often on the ice late in the game to protect leads. So I don't
He
know what
also
that was
just
all about.
broke his leg and then took one off said leg and then
Yeah,
skated, 200 feet and put the puck in the net. So,
right. Yeah, so that just wanted to air him out a little bit because that was kind of fucking stupid. But
yeah,
anyway, yeah,
I
that's
think you make a great point about the panicking. I think there's no doubt that team cooled off. I think going into the month of December, they were beating teams pretty handedly. Seemed like there was a bunch of games like those 3-2s, those 2-1s, just like the Vancouver and the
yeah,
Montreal games, where it's like maybe they score early, kind of go quiet, get a tie or a lead in the third, but it goes to overtime. And then,
Yep.
when, goes to overtime with the Caps, you never know what's going to happen. You get a
Yeah.
great goal like you did out of Dubois, or you get the stupid little bounce like you did off Suzuki's goal in the Habs game. So,
Right. It happens.
yeah, it happens. I think, the first half of the Nashville game, maybe the first two-thirds, you could say we were leaning in that direction.
Yeah.
Really loved seeing that team dig in for that third period. And like you say, you're going in tied 1-1. You come out winning 4-1. That's awesome.
Especially on a back to back where it's like we don't need another overtime game. These guys are
Correct.
freaking tired. It's like let's dig deep and get the fuck back on the plane, after this period and not be hanging
Yes.
around to play more hockey that we don't need to.
Yeah. I think the Frank call up, you nailed it. The both of the plays that he's involved in for scoring here, the assist play, behind the net, beating the icing and then feeding Eller. My first thought with that was that's a playoff goal right there.
Yeah, it
That's
was. It
DSP
really was.
2018 Cup run.
100%.
Yeah. And then
Or like,
going,
yeah, that Brett Connolly goal that
yeah.
I forget who it was that I think it was maybe Beagle who had the assist on that one. But yeah, I know
Yeah.
exactly the kind of goal you're talking about.
And then the one against Nashville, he just flat out beat the defender. That little outlet play up the boards. He is so unbelievably quick that I don't think there's
Yeah.
anyone who's going to be able to, go from skating backwards to forwards to catch him.
Yeah, I mean, this is a dude who broke a record in the AHL All-Star game for the fastest skater competition. And actually the record he set would have beaten any NHL All-Star in that same competition.
He's the only one to go under 13 seconds, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So that's
With a
awesome.
full lap around the ice. Yep.
Do you see him staying up in this lineup long term? Do you think maybe there's a little bit of up and back with him and Miro? You've also got LaPierre, who's now back down in Hershey, and it seems like they want to save him for more of a center role.
Yeah, I mean, knowing the Caps and how they typically handle these things, I would be surprised if they let Frank get to that 10 game mark where they're going to have to pay him a full salary for the
Right.
year. I'm guessing this is just going to be like a 5 to 8 or 9 game thing this entire season, whether that's all at once and then back and then not up again, or it's, a couple games, then down, and then later a couple more. Who knows? It'll depend on injuries. I know Sonny Milano has been getting closer.
Right.
Um, so there's a lot of moving pieces, but either way, I mean, if you're Frank, all you can do is just keep playing your game, and so far so good, right?
Yeah. Couldn't agree more. Hopefully Chucky's not out too long. That's obviously concerning. They can bring up Shepard or Stevenson, so it's not exactly the end of the world, but
Yeah.
you don't
And
I
Shepard's up right now.
yes. But I would like to see LT and Lindgren continue the
Yeah,
1-2 in that crease because I think it's been among the best in the league.
absolutely.
Before we do upcoming games, Navy helmets on the road. So
Enough.
so last
Stop.
time we're going to see it this year because I think they can only do it twice, but it's pretty bad.
It's so annoying. I don't know. I don't know whose decision it is, if it's the players, if it's the freaking like equipment manager or what, but it's silly. I don't like it.
Me neither. Not one bit. Don't do it again, Caps. So upcoming games, the day you guys are listening to this, Tuesday, they are home against Anaheim. Then they are home against Ottawa on Thursday. And then the big one, Saturday, home against the Penguins. I think it's worth pointing out that this is all, these three games are the run up to this 5 game road swing that we've got coming up. It's going to be Edmonton, Seattle, Vancouver, Calgary, and then Ottawa, and then back home.
Yeah, that'll be really interesting. I mean, I don't want to say time to find out what this team is made of because I think I already know. We're well into the season, but this will be a very telling road trip for sure. And it's important to go into the road trip with some momentum as well. Also, that Saturday game against Pittsburgh, uh, I don't know if you listeners realize there's 15 NHL games that day, all starting at various times. There's some 3 p.m. games, some sevens, some nines, some fives, all over the place. Hockey all day long. Tons of great matchups. I think there's a Vancouver Edmonton game that day. I think there's uh, Colorado is playing somebody. Shit. Think the Wild have the Preds. Colorado is playing Winnipeg or somebody good. I can't remember who, but
Av Stars is going to be
that's what it
great.
is.
There
Avs
you
Stars.
go.
That's like one of the day games, 3 p.m. Central, something like that. But
Jets Flames, great goalie matchup there between
yeah.
Wolf and Hellebuck.
Yep. So all that to say, there's tons and tons and tons of great NHL games on this Saturday. Can't wait to watch. We're actually having my one of my buddies, Mitch, who's been on the show, Montreal Canadiens fan, having a little hockey party on Saturday. So we've got a friend group with various fan allegiances, a Caps fan and me, Habs fan and Mitch. We've got a Wild fan. We've got a Avs fan. We've got a mixed bag of NHL fans, and yeah, basically we're just having a big like grill out, and we're bringing like multiple TVs to his house to like put all
Hell
the games on
yeah.
at once. So really excited for that, and I would encourage you all to stay tuned in to some NHL action on Saturday. It's going to be a good one.
You know what else is Saturday at 7 p.m. is Red Wings Lightning. So you know where my
Yeah.
money's going.
Well, that'll be a good one too because the Wings have managed to kind of claw themselves back into the playoff picture here with the new coach. It's been working out pretty well. Patty Kane is bought back in. He's kind of got a fire lit underneath him, it
Oh
seems.
yeah.
So I think they're like 2 points out of the wild card spot all of a sudden, and I don't think Tampa is really that far ahead of them, honestly.
They
So
are not.
yeah,
Yeah.
that'll be a good one.
For sure. Let's go ahead and get into our hot and cold teams of the week. But before we do, we just want to remind everyone that this is brought to you by Prop Tracker. Prop Tracker is your home for player prop research and finding outlier bets for NHL, NBA, NFL, and more. Once you find a bet you like, start tracking it to get notified on its progress, like shots, rebounds, or catches. Go to proptrackerapp.com/emptybetters to try a free month of our Android or iOS app. Once again, that's proptrackerapp.com/emptybetters. Hot and cold, let's run through this. Hot teams, you just mentioned it, the Detroit Red Wings. They are red hot. They have won 7 in a row and are 7-3-0 in their last 10. The Columbus Blue Jackets have won 4 in a row. They are 7-2-1 in their last 10. The Dallas Stars are cruising right now. Just get out of their way. They are 8-1-1 in their last 10. Let's go over to the cold side of the pillow. The Utah Hockey Club are 2-6-2 in their last 10. Definitely a little bit of up and down month for them so far. The Blackhawks 2-8-0 in their last 10. It has not gone well since the Winter Classic for the Hawks. And the Canucks continue to kind of flatline a little bit. They are 3-3-4 in their last 10. Mac, out of all those hot teams I just named, who would you least want to play right now?
Well, I'll tell you what, I think Stars are a no-brainer. We all know they're an excellent team, so I'm kind of going to exclude them from the conversation. CBJ and Detroit, I mean, I believe CBJ is in a playoff spot if the season ended right now, which is I don't think anybody had that. But pretty impressive from that group. What they've gone through and how they've played this year is really impressive. The Wings are weird because going into the season, you kind of see that team as a threat. Then you see them start playing hockey, and you're like, these guys are horrible. And then they fire their coach. Finally, it took them forever to do that, and now all of a sudden they're looking like a threat again. So I guess if you're asking me if the Caps had to play the Wings or the Jackets in the playoffs right now, I'd probably rather play the Jackets. Um, I don't know. I think both teams are pretty feisty. I don't necessarily. I wouldn't write either one of them off as being an actual threat.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. The Jackets and the Wings are separated by 2 points in the standings. The Jackets are in that second wild card spot as of today, and the Wings are two behind them. And as we've covered before, there's like 5 teams under that 2 point blanket. You've got the Habs, you got the Penguins, the Senators are in there too, and then the Rangers are 2 more points in the rear view. The cold teams we mentioned, Vancouver continuing to struggle. I know things in that locker room are not great right now. And as much as everyone tries to say it's fine, we're fine, everything's fine, all signs are pointing to the polar opposite. So there was a video that went around, which Harry sent to our Twitter group, that was a little bit telling about what's going on in this locker room. Just your impressions after seeing the video of the Canucks bench.
Yeah, I mean it is a little bit of a speculation kind of video. We don't know for sure that what we're seeing in the video is what we think it is, but essentially it's a video where uh I think it was Pedersen and Andrei Kuzmenko, right, are allegedly kind of mimicking something that JT Miller did the other night, kind of making fun of him for like smashing his stick on the bench. And just kind of almost like oh, it's not that serious type of thing. Look at this fucking guy. He's, too emotional or whatever. Again, it's speculation. We don't know. We're not in the locker room, but as much as these players and this organization tries to dispel these rumors, it seems pretty clear that there is an actual issue. We've heard from people that have played with these guys before, right? Brad Richardson. We've heard from multiple sources that this seems to actually be an issue, and that those two players, Miller and Pedersen, actually are being shopped seriously. So, trade deadline's not all that far away. This will be really interesting to see, how this shakes out. This hockey scene has just flown by, and we're going to be in gear up for the playoffs mode very soon. We're going to be in trade deadline mode very soon. So, uh, definitely keep a close eye on that situation.
For sure. And you nailed it. We don't want to speculate, but it kind of just seems, at least in my opinion, the fact that they're being shopped this heavily, and that just comes from the Canucks front office, tells you everything you need to know. It's even if that is not the number one reason why they're being shopped, it has to be a contributing factor.
Absolutely.
Let's go ahead and do the NCAA team of the week. I'm going to go ahead and go with the Merrimack College Warriors. They split their home and home series with the number two BC Eagles over the weekend, winning 5-2 on their ice Friday night. That is an awesome win for that program. Love those in-state rivalries. I think they just bring out a little extra juice in college hockey, especially in Hockey East. So that is fantastic to see for the Warriors there.
Yeah, I saw that highlight. That was really cool. Anytime you get to beat a team that, you're really not supposed to, especially, I had the pleasure of having some of those wins in some high school hockey games, but I'm sure, at the level of play, NCAA, anytime you're kind of counted out of a game, right? And then you find a way to win that game, it's just the best feeling.
Absolutely. Couldn't have said it better myself. Do we have a trivia today?
We do. I actually have two questions.
Oh boy.
I'm not sure how hard or how easy they're going to be, and you're the only one answering them. So,
We're gonna find out.
all right, we'll go with this one. So, this player made his NHL debut on January 13th, 2003, on his 23rd birthday. He scored 2 goals in his team's big 6-2 win over the New Jersey Devils. He became the first player in the league history to score 2 goals while debuting on his birthday. Can you name that player? This is a super random one, so I'm ready to give you some hints if need be, but wondering if you have any initial gut reactions.
Is that Travis Zajac?
Nope.
Okay.
It was against the Devils.
Oh, okay. Against the Devils. 2003, 23
Mm-hmm.
years old.
Yep. So he was born in 1980.
Oh boy.
He was born on today is his birthday,
Okay.
so
Happy
January
birthday.
13th, 1980, and he's an American boy.
Okay. 23 years old, born in 1980, debut in '03. Do I know this name?
You definitely know this name. Okay, wait. Rereading this was a little confusing. I think he actually was on the Devils, and he
Okay.
must have scored the only two. So they lost. I'll tell you this: they lost to the Panthers 6-2.
Okay.
They worded it a little weirdly, but in further research, I believe he was on the Devils, scored the only 2 goals for the Devils that night.
Scott Gomez? I feel like he was already in the league by then, right?
He probably was. However, that is not the correct answer. I'll give you some more hints here. So, this is a player. He debuted with the Devils, played for the Devils for 2 years. Then he goes over to the Coyotes for 2 years. Brief stint with CBJ, then back to the Devils for 3 years. And then this is kind of what I think of him. 09, he ends up in Pittsburgh. From 11 to 13, he's a Ranger. And then he wraps up his career with the Wild.
Oh, that is tough.
I think of him as a Ranger,
Okay.
little bit as a Penguin, but mostly as a Ranger. because he did something pretty relevant when he was with the Rangers in either 2012 or 2013. Um, I think it was 2012. He also is now like relevant in the hockey world, like for analyst purposes.
Trying to think like rags that are now analysts.
I mean, he was totally like not a goal scorer. Like, put it this way, he's played 610 career games. He's got 54 goals.
Mike Rupp.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. He has a Stanley Cup winning goal though.
That is
Yeah.
right. Yeah. So that was just kind of a fun one. This one I think will be a little easier and kind of a fun one. So this rookie provided all of his team's goals on January 13th, 2006 in a 3-2 win against the Mighty Ducks of Anaheim. He completed his first career hat trick in overtime by beating this goalie for his 30th goal of the season.
So I need to give you the guy and the goalie.
Yes, please.
Would that guy happen to be Alex Ovechkin?
Yes, he would.
And would that goalie happen to be J.S. Jaguar?
Yes, he would.
Nice.
Yep.
That's a great one. Great highlight if you've never seen that.
Oh yeah. No, that's a fun one.
Yeah. That was great. Any notes before we wrap up here or good to go?
I don't think so. I will say stay tuned for that Saturday slate of games. I'll probably try and get
Yes.
something out on social medias about some picks. May even slide over to good old Potawatomi Casino and place an in-person bet before I go to my little hockey party. We'll see. But
Got to send the setup too. I want to see the
mhm.
grills and like 8 TVs.
I definitely will send that. That'll for sure be on our socials. So stay tuned for that.
Nice. Alrighty. Well, I think that about wraps it up, right?
Yes, sir.